Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this flipped learning webinar. It will actually be hosted by Chris Waterworth, so just sit back, relax, and we'll get going soon. I'm going to hand over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank It's Learning for giving the opportunity to speak today around the subject of flipped learning. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about several things that I've done in my classroom over the past 6-7 months now, after being very much inspired at the BET show. This is the overview that we're going to be going through this afternoon. I'm going to talk first of all about, is flipped learning really a new concept? One of the things I'm discovering quite quickly is it's not really a new concept. We're then going to examine flipping Bloom's taxonomy as well, something very important in flipped learning as well. I'm also going to give you a case study that we've done. We had the dreaded visit from Ofsted quite recently, and I actually presented some of my flipped learning for them in there as well. Flipped learning is not just homework, and I'm going to talk about how it's a learning culture in your classroom that needs to be developed ongoing as well. Quite recently I've been dabbling with social media with the flipped classroom, and something quite recent that's happened this week I'll be sharing with you as well. And then moving finally on, then it's about how you can get started as well with your flipped classroom as well, getting your students on board, engaging your parents, what you need to start, and basically I'm going to talk then about the impact that I've seen so far as well. We'll have time throughout this for questions as well. So let's get going. So is it really a new concept? So this is the example that I always give with anybody who asks me about it, that people always go to YouTube now, they go to Vimeo to find out how to do something. Recently I had to change a headlight in my car, didn't know how to do it, so I went straight online and I found out how to do it. Now, the biggest advantage I found of this was that I could pause, and this really makes sense. And we've been sending home passages of text to read. We've been researching points of history as well, practicing multiplication tables. And this is all learning that's done outside the classroom, at home, on the bus, before dance or football practice. Flipped learning enables you to complete this knowledge and understanding section outside of class time, and then you're ready to apply and analyse and evaluate the concepts inside the classroom. So a lot of this work has to be done outside the classroom for this to succeed inside. So what are the benefits of doing this? Well, let's have a look at Bloom's taxonomy. This is the traditional model. If you take the class and the home part out, I'll explain that in a moment. We spent a lot of time in our schools with this section, comprehension and knowledge of Bloom's taxonomy. The teacher is the fountain of all knowledge, stands at the front, talks to a class of children for 20 or 40 minutes, and then they don't really do much with that at all. What the flipped model teaches us is that we do the comprehension and the knowledge at home, which frees us up then to do the application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, those higher order thinking skills that we very rarely get to use in the classroom. Ken Robinson talks about a Victorian model, a stand and deliver model, the chalk and talk. Now, flipped classrooms enable us, and particularly with the new technologies, it gives us the power to change this. So what I started to do was to think, well, actually, why can't the children get their information from websites and blogs and online encyclopedias, videos, and even videos created by their teachers? They can watch this outside the classroom and then come to school ready to do that application, that analysis, the synthesis and evaluation in school as well. By doing this, the children are becoming more reflective learners. They're applying skills, they're analysing what they've done, they're evaluating it, and then they're trying it again, something that we don't do very often in school. Now, this was a quote that I saw at BET 2014 when I watched Aaron Sams and John Bergman, two of the pioneers of flipped learning. They actually stated that if there is a YouTube video explaining what you're about to say to your class, then you should be out of a job. I think this is a very, very powerful quote, and I think technology has helped us to get to this point in time. This model actually saves us countless hours of what I've dubbed chalk and talk. You'll have much more time to steer your students towards higher order thinking skills and away from just gathering knowledge and understanding. Now, I'm not saying that knowledge and comprehension is something that should be taken out of the curriculum. It's very important. Children need to know dates, they need to know things that have happened in history, they need to know all these different facts and figures. But we spend a lot of time in school, again, doing these things. One of the things that I've said at the bottom here is that children are naturally curious. What flipped learning allows us to do is it gives time children outside the classroom to follow their own lines of inquiry. And then in the classroom they can publish, refine, and improve their work. So moving on to modelling the process, finding the next steps. Now, this is one of the things that the title of this about pause, rewind, my teacher. I asked my year 3 class, I'm going to teach you, do you know how to watch a video? I'm going to teach you how to do it. They all laughed. I said this in the morning first thing, carried on as a running joke throughout the day until I introduced this concept to them. You just watch it, Mr. Waterworth. Just press play, sit back, enjoy it. Well, actually, for the flipped learning to work, it doesn't really work that way. So what I did is I actually modelled the whole process out loud, verbalising what I was doing. We've all used modelling in the classroom. Just saying what you're thinking all the time can be very, very powerful for children to hear. So I modelled them how to pause it, how to make a few notes, watch a little bit more, pause, make a few notes, and then rewind the parts that I needed to cover again. I can remember back when I was at school when just some moment where you would drift off, you'd miss a bit, and then you wish to watch back. Very, very crucial. This about to find the points where you got stuck. Your next steps in learning are absolutely crucial in the classroom. We usually give these back by marking children's books or verbal feedback. But what flipped learning enables the children to do is to take times to think about those next steps in their learning. They get time to try bits at home before coming to school and actually pinpointing where I am up to in my learning. What I did then was, after I modelled this process, is I actually sent the children away to have a go at this still in the classroom because they needed to learn how to do this. I could go around and I could see children pausing, having a go, rewinding, making notes. And crucially then, I sat with them and spoke to them about how to articulate where they were up to and at what point they got stuck, basically their misconceptions. And this enabled the children to know very clearly their next steps. Ofsted are very good at asking those questions. What are your next steps? What's your target? If children have time to experiment and play with these things, they can certainly see their next steps quite quickly. So Ofsted came to my school. So a bit of background first about this. I had told everybody I was determined not to have a day off this year at all, and I'd done very, very well until I got poorly. I got ill by one of the children who'd actually flown off to America at that point. I was off for 2 days, and on the second day, on the Tuesday, I had a call from my deputy head to tell me that Ofsted were going to be in the next day. Cue a bit of panicking from my point. I soon got better after that. Now Ofsted, they were a great team, by the way. They were very approachable. They were willing to listen to you as well, and I'd encourage anybody who's got an Ofsted coming up to go and talk to the Ofsted inspectors, show them things, be a little bit cheeky if you can, after you've had feedback, or go and ask them as well. Now Ofsted asked me to take risks in my classroom to show outstanding outcomes. Okay, now I'd started this flipped learning a couple of months before. I couldn't go back now. The children were too involved in it. I was too involved in it as well. And one of the things I would recommend that you read is Alison Peacock's Learning Without Limits at the Wroxham School. Absolutely superb book, and changed completely the way that I deliver sessions in the classroom. I don't group children by ability, and we give them challenges to tackle in the classrooms, and they personalise their own learning as well. Now, during this lesson, the children really excelled. They knew which parts. It was a mathematics lesson of a calculation strategy they were challenged by. Now, they could tell me this because they'd experienced the video and the skill that they were learning before. They'd been at home and they tried this multiplication and division skills at home, and they brought these points to school, and they could tell me quite quickly without me having to model anything on the board. And I think flipped learning enables you to do that. You don't have to stand show the model to the skill where 20 or 30% of your class already know what to do, and you're only preaching to the middle part of your class. Now, flipped learning, everybody's got to know, knows where they're up to. They can start their challenges straight away, which is what I did at the start of the session. I was left then with about 6 or 7 children who had misconceptions that I needed to deal with. Just try the next one. Now, they had discovered their own personalised next steps to work on back in the classroom, crucially. Now, throughout the lesson, the children, they were using the videos in the lesson. I put the iPads and MacBooks out on tables for children to use them. Now, I was spending more time in that lesson questioning children's understanding and moving learning on, and really maximising the valuable learning time that we have with those children, because the children had put the effort in of the knowledge and understanding at home. They were ready for the application session. Now, the children in that session didn't just use the videos in the classroom because they were there. They used them because they needed to use them. Now, I did it this morning again. They actually didn't put the MacBooks or the iPads out in the classroom. They actually went out and they picked those iPads up, they picked those MacBooks up, found the videos on Edmodo, which I'll talk about in a little while, and then used the videos. It enabled the children then to be more independent. They didn't have to come to me all the time. Again, I am not the fountain of all their information. They've got more things to be able to do that with. So one of the things that people say when they hear about flipped learning is it's just homework. We've been doing that for years. Well, yes, they are partly right, but it's integral to flipped learning. The lot of learning that we send home for homework tends to be reinforcing work from home or to satisfy expectations of parents. What flipped learning does is gives children a concept beforehand and then allows them to experience it at home, ready for the next session. Now, homework is a large part of the flipped classroom, and it can be a challenge to get the children and some parents to commit to this initially. Now, I will say it will take time for parents and children to buy into this concept as well, and I'll explain a little bit more about how I approach that later on. Now, one of the things that I said is to my children is that about the knowledge and understanding, the gathering that, they can do that at home. Now, application and evaluating projects and building something and completing something is much more exciting than actually sitting there and listening and gathering information, hands-on work as well. And I've enabled, by doing this flipped learning, for children to be able to do that application. They're coming in within 5 minutes of being in the lesson. They're already trying out some of the things that they've learned at home. So I'm just going to pause there just for any questions, Fran, if anybody's come through, because I've thrown a lot of information at you there about the theory behind what I've done. Is there anything that anybody's asking so far?
Yeah, we've just got one question at the moment. Does it have to be videos that are watched, or can it be any sort of materials that are used?
Actually, it can be anything. I mean, one of the things that John Berman and Aaron Sands recommend is that it doesn't have to be videos. It can be just pieces of paper. It can be a picture. It can be, as long as the children are thinking about something, doing this pre-learning, then they are actually completing their flipped learning as well. So it could be a script, it could be a piece of text, it could be a photograph, it could be absolutely anything at all as well.
We've also got one here that says, how old are your kids and do you have issues with internet at home?
The children I teach are year 3, so the 7 and 8 year old children. We don't have issues with the internet at home here, but I do understand that obviously a lot of parents may not have internet access at home. One of the things that I've used, particularly for one of the children in my class, is I've actually burned DVDs. I've actually sent home memory sticks with videos on as well. It's just a way of getting around it and trying to buy everybody into it.
And finally, we've got, do you make all the videos yourself, or have you found a good source of pre-made videos?
Again, I started off making my own videos. I uploaded a few onto Vimeo, but quite quickly discovered that there were an absolute vast amount of things out there. Because of home learning, there's huge amounts of stuff out there. You sift through YouTube and Vimeo and you'll find something that suits yours. I'll go on to explain a little bit more later about how I produce videos and where I get them from as well.
Okay, we've got one here from Stuart that says, how do you deal with students that turn up having not completed the homework at home? The learning at home, sorry.
One of the things that I've found is that what I will do is I've actually opened up school a little bit earlier, about 8:30, for them to come in, watch the videos. Remember, these videos are only 3 or 4 minutes long sometimes. I've also, at the beginning of a session, I'll give them 5 minutes if they've not watched those videos for them to watch it. So you're only taking up 5 minutes of a session rather than 20 of them of you explaining them as well.
We've got a question from Emma. With the example of methods of calculation, do you prepare a video with different stages?
Yeah, one of the things I've found is that obviously with differentiation with children of different levels of achievement in your class, is I'll find, say, for instance, with multiplication, we had partitioning for multiplication. I had cubes modelled with hands on the video as well, grid multiplication method, and just send them out 3 or 4 at a time if you need to. It's almost a level of challenge for each of them to choose to watch or watch all of them.
Brilliant. And we've got last question before we can start again. What have you used this for other than maths?
Quite recently I've been using it for, we're doing Shakespeare at the moment, so I was sending home, we looked at the prologue just the other day of Romeo and Juliet, just sending home a copy of that prologue for them to look at, just to read at home and think about what it means. Prepare, and the other day I found a video of how to sketch the proportion just yesterday, bringing in examples of that before at home, and they actually told me I found it difficult to do the eyes, or I found it difficult to do the ears, so I had before they got to the classroom.
Brilliant.
Is that okay? Ready to move on?
Yes, we've got a couple more questions, but we can leave them till the end. So yes, let's carry on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, one of the things recently I've talked about is learning being a very social experience. Learning is, and learning will always work best when you have got groups of children, groups of adults working together to put things together. And I'm not saying that standing at the front telling children things is always wrong, because there's been children for many years been quite successful learners for many years in that way. But it really is the most powerful that I've observed when it's a social experience. I do encourage you to go and see your early years and your foundation stage departments if you've got them in your school, and watch those children go through Bloom's taxonomy in an hour. It's fascinating watching them build and fail and talk and question and improve and engage. And we tend not to do that when we get into the children get older. It tends to be the teacher as the knowledge, and the children are expected to do work from that. There's not as much application in our schools as there should be. So can we take that model of the social learning experience and actually put it into our flipped classrooms? One of the things I've been using at the moment, and I've discovered over the last month, is you need a learning hub. You need a place to store these videos. I started originally by emailing the children the videos, and I emailed the parents the videos as well. But it was a very one-sided conversation. I'd send a video and I had absolutely no feedback at all from them. Now, you might think, well, I've got to wait until the next morning, okay? But Edmodo was absolutely hit the nail on the head with my children. They absolutely loved it. Facebook for Kids, they dubbed it. It looked cool. It's exactly, they're used to the icons. They're used to the things as well. They're used to seeing their parents using it as well. And it really helped the workflow solution for me and for helping the children. And it was enabled them to actually, for me to share a video, for them to online, they would receive feedback, they can improve, and they can publish again. And the picture I've put up here is just an example of the English that we were doing, and we were doing some drama the next day, and they had to come up with a character. So I actually had a girl down here actually say, how would you feel? I said, I'd feel quite scared. So I had a chance to talk back to her then. And there was a conversation happening online before we even got to the lesson. So the children were starting to think straight away. Now, one of the things here that I've done with Edmodo is, because I've been able to embed the videos on there, the children have started to talk before the lesson, something they hadn't done before, which something I wasn't expecting them to do. They actually started to comment like you would on Facebook or Twitter underneath the video, and they started to talk and share problems they were having online. So a conversation was starting before we'd even got to the lesson. The children were thinking about their next work before they got there as well. And that's crucial there. One child replied to the pre-learning I'd posted, and collaborative learning had started. And this is an example on the right here, as I posted their homework up recently. I've just had these in today, actually. It's hot off the press. This is the next steps that I gave. Up here was Holly's homework she submitted once. I marked it online, gave her a next steps. She submitted it again, so I can give her her feedback as well. But she's done all that work outside the classroom, and now she's coming in to present that information ready as well. So how can we get our students on board for this? It will not happen overnight. Children and parents will be skeptical at first. There'll be lots of questions, and rightly so. They've been educated in a very, very traditional way, excuse me, for a very long time. And you need to convince almost the children watching the videos, and they'll have more time to think about the concepts as well. They'll have more time in the lessons with your teacher actually discussing a point that they're stuck on, rather than sitting and waiting for 25 minutes for your teacher to be ready to speak to you as well. Now, you need to keep those, from my experience, particularly 7 and 8-year-olds, you need to keep those videos short, okay? You need to make sure that the application of the knowledge back in the classroom is very exciting. One of the things I hate to see when I go into schools is people putting up learning objectives. You're spoiling the surprise of an outcome when you actually go in there. You're telling the children what they're going to learn. You need to, how do we divide numbers, or why did Shakespeare start Romeo and Juliet in that way? Pose it as a question as well, and make that application of knowledge really exciting. And again, one of the things I've seen is that if students haven't done that pre-learning, they're seeing children doing the application much more exciting. For instance, just the other day I had 5 children who hadn't watched a video on capacity that we were doing. They had to sit and watch the video almost, whilst the rest of them were outside with big jugs of water measuring and estimating. And you could see their faces turning, saying, wish I was out there, wish I was out there. It almost sounds like it's a punishment, that, but I assure you it wasn't. Again, one of the questions that was asked just recently, not all my children can get online. Aaron Sands and John Berman, a creative approach, burning DVDs to take home, allowing time in school, listening to the videos, leave iPads or videos running. I'm want to develop an interactive learning wall in my class with a touchscreen TV. I haven't approached my head teacher yet about this, so keep it quiet. One of the things that as well that I've seen is what John Bergman did and Aaron Sands is very, very early on. They were based in a very rural area. They actually asked charities to donate computers and things like that for people. And now in 2014, I don't think a computer is going to be something that's going to be missing from a child's home, or even a smartphone. Or an iPod Touch or something. Video is available to be streamed absolutely anywhere nowadays. Engaging parents. This is one of the most surprising successes that I've had with this. I've said here I always email the video links. Now I always, on Edmodo, you can actually say to parents, you can send the videos to them as well. You can make an option for them to see as well. The parents actually started to use the clips to update their own skills, which was a nice little success there. And also the biggest advantage I found to making those videos available is that parents always used to say to me at Parents Evening, I don't know how you were doing those things. I don't know how you were doing those methods in school. Well, there they are on a video. And parents have thanked me now because they've learned their skills that their children are using throughout the day, and they're not fearful then of teaching them something wrong, because it creates a very level playing field then for the parents and the class teacher. You know that the parents are backing up what you've done either before the learning or after the learning as well. And the picture there is just an example of, it was actually this week's simple division, long division, and a grid method there. 3 videos that I found on YouTube as well. So how can you start to flip your classroom? Where do you start? I know, start small. Don't try to do absolutely everything. Throw them in at the deep end. Model that process first in class and make sure the children fully understand it as well. Explain the new way of working and what are the benefits. Sell those benefits to the children as well. Now, 7 and 8-year-olds found that difficult to understand, so it was more of an ongoing process for them to understand those benefits as well. As I said earlier, teach the children how to watch that video, pause and rewind as well. Model that process for them, making notes and showing them as well. Writing down questions and misconceptions. I cannot stress that enough for flipped learning. Get the children to write down what they're stuck on and bring that into school as well. And again, plan with them how to use that information in school. For instance, if I've asked them to research Shakespeare, I will expect them to publish something either in school or at home, which they've done recently as well. But tell them that what the outcome of that of their research is going to be. And again, something I'm experimenting, and we are as a school here as well, is publishing something, giving them free rein. That I failed to mention earlier, giving them free rein, giving them, ask them, do you want to write a report about this? Do you want to write a poem about this? Do you want to do a poster about this? Do you want to create a video about this, a podcast? And then give them free rein for that. That buys into that application as well. And for a teacher as well, you're not sat there marking 32 of the same reports. You're not sat there marking the same thing over and over again. It becomes more interesting for you as well. And again, email that video home if you haven't got a place like Edmodo to host your videos on, or burn those DVDs as well for your next unit of work. For the primary teachers out there, recommend flipping one area of the curriculum. As I said, I've talked a lot about maths at the minute, but I am starting to do other areas of the curriculum. As I said, I've done history, I've even done drama, we've done art so far as well. There's lots of different ways to do this as well. For secondary teachers, you could start flipping your next unit of work just for one of your classes. Don't try to do it with your entire year. Experiment it with one class as well, and don't expect too much too soon. It does take time to embed a flipped learning culture, and you need to be consistent with it as well, and parents need to buy into it as well. Now, I've used videos from absolutely everywhere. They are widely available. There is a huge amount of video online at the moment, YouTube and Vimeo. Find the videos that suit you as well. I mean, I've discovered Aaron Sams and John Bergman, they actually pre-record 45-minute, hour-long lectures on chemistry in their classrooms and email those out to students to watch. And there are actually a bank of videos online that they've created, and their students actually, they call it the mastery model, they actually work through those videos at their own pace and then come into class with those questions and to apply with tests and quizzes and things as well. Now, this is the last thing here. If you are going to stand yourself in front of a camera or to record something on an iPad with a free video making software, do make it entertaining as well. Throw some jokes in there if you can. Their advice as well, John and Aaron Sams, to do that. If it didn't engage you, it won't engage your students as well. So keep them short, keep them to the point as well. I come across a lady on Twitter who used Telegami to do that as well. It only allows you to record about a minute of yourself talking on camera as well. It's a good little piece of software, a digital Mr. Waterworth I was known as with that piece of homework there. So the impact so far. What does my classroom practice look like now? Well, I do spend more time questioning children's understanding by giving them problem solving and applications of skills as well, and particularly I've noticed this in mathematics. I'm not spending as lot of time actually teaching children how to add, subtract, take away, whatever your unit of work is as well. And again, I'm not saying that some children will not need that in the classroom. Some children will need that. Relationships are very key to this flipped learning. Children need to know that they can talk to you about problems that they have. Those relationships between a teacher and a child is not going to go away anytime soon. They are absolutely crucial. Technology will not replace us, thank goodness. Children are independently accessing videos when they need to confirm something. Something I saw this morning, again, they're getting those MacBooks and having a look at that video as well to check things. They're checking facts and information as well, using Wikipedia and Googling things as well. And parents, I find, are actually building on the learning in class because they know the methods that we're using in school. They feel confident to teach their children how to do it as well. this is quite recent as well with Edmodo. They're beginning to share learning online, and the peer assessment. I've just recently blogged about this as well. Ongoing projects independently. It's been amazing to sit back and watch the children peer assessing online. One of the things that I do in my classroom is we will finish a piece of work or an ongoing piece of work, and the children with their learning partners will peer assess each other's work. What I'm finding is that you're only doing that with one child. You're only doing it with one learning partner. If you put it online, there's an opportunity for your whole class to peer assess a piece of work that you've done. And I find that quite powerful, that some of the children for our last piece, Shakespeare piece that we did for homework, they were actually talking about closed and open questions, and there was a dialogue starting on there as well. And I like the word in here about freedom as well, giving them time to publish their work and continue that work outside the classroom. Cloud-based learning, using Office 365, do Google Docs, things like that, OneDrive, things like that are enabling children to start work in school, take it home, continue a bit, and come back as well after the lesson as well. So that's as much as I've got to say at the moment. I've just put up my blog there as well, my Twitter account. People need to get on Twitter if you're in education. It's absolutely amazing place for learning things as well. So I'll hand back to Fran now, just in case we've got any questions as well. So thank you very much.
Fabulous, thanks Chris. Yes, if you could just pass the screen back, that would be fab. And we've got a few questions for you. So Jenny's asked, does this create a divide between the ones who have parental support and those that don't? This was prior to the break.
Okay, that's fine. I think what you're getting at, you need to create that level playing field, and I think you need to get the parents to buy into that as well. I mean, some schools you will have very supportive parents, some schools you won't. And I think it's about speaking to them personally as well, to explain what you're doing. Be very open and clear with this as well. You know, sell it to them about the benefits of that. If they choose not to learn it, it's about the child at the end of the day. If you can create those opportunities for the children just to watch those videos, at least they're experiencing a little bit before they come to school as well.
Fabulous. We've got another one here.
Yep.
Which is, how often do you create these videos? Are there particular moments when you use the videos more than others?
Again, it's just, if I think of my next week of planning, I'll usually, on my planning time PPA is on a Friday afternoon, quite coincidentally, and I can create the videos or find the videos as well. I haven't created a video for a few weeks now. I've managed to find videos that really suit what I'm doing as well. And again, by keeping them short, it doesn't take very long to put together. I usually, there's an app on my iPad that I use called Vittle. It's a free app, just allows you to draw on your iPad and talk at the same time, and it creates that video for you as well. And with it only limiting you to a minute or two of film, it really makes you focus on what you're doing and getting the key points across for those children.
Jenny's asked, because she's actually working with older level children, so like 15 to 19-year-olds, which she therefore doesn't have the same parental contact. That's what she was asking.
Oh, it's okay. I think. Sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. Carry
on. I think again that parental contact. I mean, I don't know how what facilities Jenny's got at her school, but by creating something like Edmodo as well for your children to sign up to, again, it creates that level playing field. It's holding it all in place. We call it our learning hub. That everything goes on there. Anything that the children want to ask. Anything that they want to share goes on there as well, so it creates a level playing field for that classroom as well. I usually give children in the morning as well chances to have a look on Edmodo as well to see if they've got any notifications, anything that they need to respond to as well.
She's also in France, and they have very different attitudes to teaching and learning. She's just
delightful. And again, but it's about finding what works in your classroom. There's elements of what John Bergman and Aaron Sams have said to do. They record every single lesson in their classroom, and I haven't gone down that route. I haven't felt in my classroom the culture of how I work, the culture of how the children learn as well. I haven't needed to go down that route, and you take it as far as you want, but you're just remembering to stick to those core values, that it's skillation and evaluation inside the classroom.
We've got a question here. What was the name of the video app you used?
Vimeo. And it's Vittle is the one that I used on the iPad. Vittle.
Brilliant.
There's another one out there as well, which that quite a few use, called Explain Everything. It's about £2 or £3 on the iPad. Absolutely superb piece of equipment. Creates so many wonderful presentations for children on there with graphics and moving captions and things as well.
Brilliant. I think that's it for questions. We will make Chris's presentation and also a recording of the presentation available to everybody that's been on the webinar, which that will be emailed out tomorrow to you. So don't panic, you can share that. And Chris, have you got any further words you'd like to say?
No, I'm just pleased that the video is online as well, because that will be classic flipped learning. You can go on and pause and rewind to your heart's content then.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.